After abusing me for my entire life, my parents finally started loving me, but only after realizing they could make money off of me. So I let them think they won, only to absolute ruin them when the time was right. I ruined my parents' lives before I was even born. They were the dream power couple. Met in high school, went to the same university, had a dream about backpacking across continents together, and then, during sophomore year, they didn't use a rubber. My father fertilized my mother, and I was created. They actually wanted to terminate, but both sets of grandparents shut that down fast. So, because of me, everyone was whispering about my mom's pregnant belly. It got so bad that she dropped out of the degree she'd wanted her whole life. As you can imagine, she didn't like me much after that. Actually, she straight up resented my existence. But thanks to my grandparents, I never found that out until I was 5. Because up until that point, I legit thought my mom was my sister and my grandparents were my actual parents, because she wanted nothing to do with me. If I ever tried getting her attention, she'd either completely ignore me or snap at me. And as for my dad, well, he wasn't even in the picture, so I had zero clue he existed. Meanwhile, they kept dating like nothing had changed. By the time I started walking and talking, Dad had graduated and suddenly developed a conscience. He started showing up on weekends, and I just thought he was some random friend of my grandparents that my mom hated. That's how I finally figured out that this family friend was actually my father. Once Dad landed a decent job, he suddenly wanted me to live with them. Mom was completely against it, but my aging grandparents basically forced them into it. So, at 5 years old, I reluctantly moved in with these strangers who happened to be my biological parents. Saying it sucked would be the understatement of the century. It felt like someone had turned off the sun, and throughout their emotional neglect, my mom would constantly remind me how lucky I was that they took me in, and in the same breath, she'd threaten to kick me out over any tiny mistake. Dad worked crazy hours and came home exhausted. Whenever I tried bonding with him, he'd brush me off with, "I can't deal with you right now." I went from being surrounded by love to living with people who couldn't stand the sight of me. I became so terrified of her reactions that I started doing perfect schoolwork just to finally earn her acceptance. Spoiler alert, I never did. As I got older, I realized my parents' treatment was not normal. I'd watch other parents at school drop-offs, hugging their kids, kissing them goodbye, actually smiling at them. Meanwhile, I felt like I was living with roommates who hated me. At night, I started fantasizing about there being some sort of hospital mix-up, because then I could blame the nurses for my parents' hatred, instead of myself. When visiting my grandparents, I'd straight up ask them if these people were really my parents. They always confirmed that yes, unfortunately, these a-holes were my biological parents, but they just needed time to grow up. Meanwhile, Mom took every opportunity to destroy whatever self-esteem I had. She'd mock my hair, call me fat, make fun of my glasses, and even said if we'd been in high school together, she would have bullied me relentlessly. Who says that to their own kid? But here's where things got real. She made me French toast, and when I reminded her that I had an egg allergy, I expected her to just apologize and throw it out. But instead, she refused to believe it, insisted I was faking for attention, because kids in her day didn't have all these made-up allergies. I ended up in the ER with anaphylaxis. The cops showed up to interview her. Dad completely lost it on her, and she actually cried. But something shifted after that. Mom actually started waking me up for school and helping me get ready. Dad would hang out with me in the evenings and tuck me in at night. I actually started to believe we were becoming a functioning family, but I should have known that people can't change at the snap of a finger. Anyway, when I turned 14, I discovered I had a knack for knitting. It was something my Nana, Mom's mom, taught me. By then, Grandpa had passed away, and Nana would knit these gorgeous pieces to sell at the local craft market for extra cash. With her encouragement, I set up a tiny booth next to hers at the same craft fair. The response blew me away. People actually wanted to buy my creations. Nana even suggested opening a savings account specifically for college funds. But back then, I was just a hopelessly dumb 14-year-old. And guess what the first thing I did was? I told my parents. Their eyes lit up like dollar signs, and what they did next made me wish they used a rubber instead of birthing me too. Dad threatened to burn all my knitting supplies and screamed that he wasn't busting his ass to pay for my education so I could waste time on stupid crafts. Mom banned me from visiting Nana's house entirely. They demanded I hand over all my earnings, but when I told them Nana was keeping it safe, they called her and started screaming about how they deserved every penny of my money. That's when I realized they hadn't changed at all. They were still the same selfish jerks they'd always been. I wasn't about to give up my passion or the money that could fund my escape to college. Knowing my parents, they probably wouldn't even help with tuition, so I needed to take control of my future. I came up with this whole scheme where I'd tell my parents I was sleeping over at my BFF's house on weekends. She was totally in on it. But I'd actually go to Nana's place to knit and fulfill orders. Nana was crucial in building my business, and I also started using Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook to reach more customers. Social media was a game changer. Suddenly, I could share my work with people everywhere. What started as a tiny booth at the local fair became a thriving online shop. Nana helped me open a joint bank account with her as co-owner. I trusted her completely, and thanks to her, I could save everything for college. She believed in me when my own parents just wanted to take my money. Then disaster struck. Mom went through my phone one day and discovered I was still running my business behind their backs. All hell broke loose. They screamed at both me and Nana, demanding I withdraw everything I'd earned and hand it over since they'd raised and taken care of me. I nearly broke down trying to explain the money was for my future education, and I wasn't hurting anyone. Dad ranted about how he couldn't trust me anymore, and Mom forced me to delete my Instagram while she watched. I cleverly just deactivated it, planning to reactivate once I was free. They went nuclear with restrictions. No phone access from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. and midnight to 8 a.m. Location tracking. Monitoring my entire browser history. I got notifications if I searched for freaking underwear. Limited hangouts with friends to twice weekly with mandatory check-ins, and occasional supervised visits with Nana, but absolutely no knitting allowed. The punishment? Taking away all communication privileges. Some days I just wanted to run, but at 16 I had nowhere to go. I managed to convince them to let me work at a local coffee shop, but they demanded 25% of those earnings too. I agreed without fighting. Giving them their cut was while secretly passing the other 75% to Nana for my escape fund. They made life unbearable, randomly barging into my room to search it, going through all my messages, constantly tracking my location. If I broke any of their insane rules, I'd either get grounded or they'd take more of my earnings that week. Through it all, I focused on getting perfect grades. I knew a good college was my only ticket out, so I worked my ass off. The night before my 17th birthday, I packed everything I'd bought myself, leaving behind anything they'd given me, including my phone, which I factory reset. My plan was set. Nana picked me up early morning, and I officially moved out. My parents were shocked. They argued with Nana and threatened to call the cops. I told them to go ahead since I was 17 and could make my own decisions now. They tried guilt-tripping me that everyone would think I was ungrateful for abandoning them. I couldn't care less. When they threatened to withhold college support, I just smiled, knowing I had my own money and scholarship prospects. Walking out of that house felt terrifying, yet liberating. Those first weeks at Nana's were absolute heaven. No more surveillance state. First thing I did was buy a new phone with a new number. Then Nana and I went to the bank so I could convert my minor account to an individual one. Having my own card and account without needing permission felt amazing. I reactivated my Instagram and went back to business. Nana even gave me space in her house for a little studio. Just a week after moving out, I heard through relatives that my parents threw a party to celebrate their newfound freedom. They invited all their child-free friends and posted tons of pics of themselves drinking and laughing like they'd just been released from prison. Not gonna lie, that stung. My own parents celebrating my absence just a week later was a brutal reminder of how unwanted I'd always been. It felt like some sick cosmic joke. My paternal grandparents, who'd been traveling the country in their RV for years, were horrified when they heard about the celebration and tracked down my new number through my cousin. They immediately called to get the full story. When I told them everything, including how I'd left home, they were absolutely devastated. They asked why I hadn't reached out to them for help, and I explained how my parents had monitored my communication. That's when they dropped the bomb that my parents never wanted me from the beginning, but they thought things had improved over the years. They begged for forgiveness for not being there, and also spoke with Nana about all the fights she'd had with my parents defending me. After that, my paternal grandparents made it their mission to tell everyone in the family what my parents had put me through. Soon, relatives and family friends started calling to offer support. I was shocked by how many people had my back. Some offered financial help, but I declined, instead telling them about my knitting business and how they could help by spreading the word for new clients. Business started picking up, and during this time, I got accepted to my dream college with a full scholarship. My life was finally looking up. The college wasn't far from Nana's place, so I could visit on weekends. My paternal grandparents gifted me their old car. It needed work but was totally usable, making it easier to visit Nana. A friend who worked for the local paper asked to write a story about me. There weren't many teenage entrepreneurs in our area with their own businesses, and she thought my story might inspire other kids in tough situations. After thinking about it, I agreed, hoping if there was another kid out there stuck in a toxic home, they might find some hope. When the article came out, seeing my journey in print felt surreal. It might seem small, but for the first time in forever, I felt proud of what I'd accomplished despite everything. Nana was bursting with pride, and relatives and friends called to congratulate me. Another new experience since my parents had never acknowledged my achievements. My parents must have seen the article because they called Nana screaming about how I'd betrayed them. They demanded I publicly give them credit for my business since relatives were criticizing their controlling behavior. They even threatened to sue me for a share of my profits. But Nana shut them down hard, saying I'd built everything under her roof so they could try going to court if they wanted. They'd lose anyway. I was livid at their audacity, but instead of stooping to their level, I organized a small celebration with people who actually loved me. Since I was heading to college soon, it felt right to have one last gathering with my real support system. Of course, word got back to my parents, and somehow they got my new number. Cue the barrage of texts about what an ungrateful daughter I was, and how they wished they never had me. Dad sent this long-ass guilt trip about how he'd provided for me my whole life. Yet here I was, wasting money, celebrating with others. The hypocrisy was mind-blowing considering they threw a party when I moved out. Update 1. Holy crap. I had no idea my post would blow up like this. I've seen it reposted on TikTok and I'm low-key terrified my parents might find it. Please send good vibes they don't discover this. I see many comments saying I should permanently block my parents. And you're right, I'm planning to. But first, I want to send one final email laying out exactly what they put me through. I'm not a doormat like some of you suggested. I'm just a young person with toxic parents trying to figure this out. Society teaches us parents always want what's best for us, but nobody teaches you what to do when that's not the case or how to cut them off. Update 2. Thanks for all the supportive messages from people who've been through similar hell. As promised, I sent that email to my parents. Nana helped me organize my thoughts. Here's what I wrote. Dear Mom and Dad, after serious reflection on our past, present, and potential future relationship, I've realized I need to cut ties with you both for my own well-being. I've spent my childhood desperately trying to earn your love and meet your expectations, but I was never enough. From Mom forcing me to eat eggs despite my allergy to feeling like a stranger in my own home, your actions shaped my understanding of how toxic our family dynamic is. I held on hoping for connection that never materialized. When I found purpose in knitting through Nana's guidance, I thought it might bridge our gap. Instead, your attempts to control and take my hard-earned money only confirmed I needed to escape this environment. This isn't revenge, it's self-preservation. I'm building a life free from toxicity and filled with the support every kid deserves. I hold no hatred toward you, but must prioritize my mental health. Thank you for pushing me to become independent and for underestimating me. I wish you happiness in your child-free life. Please respect my decision for no further contact. I cried while writing this. Even knowing all the awful things they did, it's still heartbreaking that parent-child bond we're conditioned to value. After sending it, I blocked them everywhere. I'm heading to college soon and honestly pretty nervous. Nana and my paternal maternal grandparents are helping me move into my dorm. I'm excited to meet new people and make friends. For those asking, yes, I'm keeping my knitting business going through college. It's my passion, and I'll make it work with my studies. Update 3. Wow, 6 months since my last update. Life is completely different now. First off, I'm thriving in college. Classes are tough, but I'm maintaining good grades. Even with my successful business, having a degree will be my safety net. I've made incredible friends here who even help me get more knitting orders. College has opened my world to new experiences and different perspectives. Such a change from the isolation I felt growing up. Oh, and I've been dating this guy Alex for 2 months now. He's pretty great, so we'll see where things go. Every weekend I visit Nana and we work from her little studio filling orders. Business is booming and the customer feedback is amazing. It's wild how following my passion has given me both financial stability and a real sense of purpose. As for my parents, radio silenced these 6 months since my email. According to my grandparents, they received so much backlash from everyone that they decided to sell everything and move out of the country. They're starting fresh somewhere else. Honestly, I don't know where they went and don't really care. The fact they left without even attempting to apologize or reconcile tells me everything I need to know. I genuinely hope they find happiness wherever they landed and can finally live the child-free life they always wanted. Meanwhile, I'm focused on building the future I deserve. I'm so grateful to everyone who's followed my journey and offered support. The biggest lesson I've learned is to surround yourself with people who actually believe in you. Thanks to Nana and friends who had my back, I'm where I am today.